me really didn't know what it was going to be like. I think honestly, like my expectations were kind of low because I didn't want to like psych myself up, and I kind of wanted to come in with it's going to take time to settle and to fit in versus everything's going to be awesome off the bat. It's just a much different environment where I am finding that already I am able to grow. I was already met with supervision twice a week, which I, before coming here, couldn't tell you the last time I had a meeting with a supervisor. There's a focus on not only like the clients, but on the staff and the community. It's different because things are slower. I can spend more time on things with clients. I can sit with them on different things. And they have different support systems naturally, kind of in their home space. They have different means and access to things where things don't feel as urgent. And so we actually can spend time on whether that's relationship issues or trauma or mental health in ways that we're teasing things out and not like, how can we get to something that's a solution where you feel safe enough to go into the world for the rest of today. I think what's kind of been beautiful is that the way that people have access or the way that people can show up to therapy can look different, and there still can be outcomes and ways that we, as therapists, we're kind of holding that role, can impact people, but it just looks different on what that level of impact is. And so I think coming here, the way that things have kind of been transformative is just kind of opening my eyes to a different way that therapy can be impactful. Coming here to an equation where I didn't know how I would fit in. I think that's kind of the proudest thing, was taking a risk to be able to like do something different and not still knowing what the outcome is, but still open to accepting what it ends up being. That risk is like being able to trust myself in ways that maybe I thought I wouldn't have been able to. So kind of being able to trust a little bit more like my intuition or my gut that I needed a change, and even though it feels scary, that I can kind of trust that voice in knowing when I need a shift. Setting boundaries with people in that front, but the opposite of also having boundaries for myself of I need my own therapist on a very consistent basis, so I'm not also unloading some of that on my partner, my friends, because it is tough, it is hard. We do hear a lot, and we have to process that very quickly. Like we see clients back to back, and the process time in between is not a lot, and that's where I think like the supervision comes in of being very helpful to process those different things. So I think boundaries would be the way that the job and my lifestyle intersect, is through boundaries. It's been a very interesting dynamic shift for me being around people who actually also want community. It's hard to be vulnerable and to be open with people. I think especially in our field, we're kind of taught like, this is just your job, like you're not supposed to have this community piece. Yes, yet we are asking our clients to show up as humans and to share all these things with us. But as soon as we begin to like move away from that, then my expectation of my client also starts to reduce of, if I'm not showing up that way in my own life, how can I expect you to show up here in this space? So I might not push as hard. I might not ask as many questions. And so I think that is like a really crucial piece that maybe that connection isn't always made for people, of if I'm being my authentic self with my coworkers, showing up, sharing hard times, being vulnerable, having connection and community, which is scary, yes, but if I'm doing that, how might that transform how I'm doing therapy? And if I'm not asking or doing that in my own life, how am I also changing the way I do therapy? Just continuing to develop those skills and finding out more and more like what kind of therapist I am and how I show up already starts to feel more authentic here in a different way than I'm used to. And then I hope too, and I think that there's a lot of room for growth in different ways of leadership, and that kind of looking different. It feels kind of nice to be at a part of a company that's continuing to grow in this kind of value and mission. It feels exciting to be coming in at this time. Being at Change Incorporated, I've been challenged to be myself. I think that in of itself has been a challenge. We are so often in this profession encouraged to not be ourselves as a way that's supposed to be benefiting our clients, of being like the kind of cold head nod, type of therapist. And while if that's your style and it works for you, great. But I think that here at Change, it's very much encouraged for you to be providing feedback, providing what I call like hands-on therapy. Like you are also a part of the process, which can be hard, like in being yourself in that. We're humans too, and thinking, oh, does this client think what I just said was dumb? Like, was that actually what they meant? It's hard to put that piece of you out of there too in that space. It is a group private practice that values community and being authentic, and that requirement from both therapist and client. And I think that there's a lot of trust between maybe leadership and the clinicians themselves, that we are giving you a trust that we trust what you're doing. So it definitely feels within that feedback like a attempt to reduce shame, which feels really nice. It means the world to me to have someone invested in me as a person, not only professionally, but personally as humans. I think we all want someone to be invested in us. A lot of times that's why our clients are coming in, because they want someone to be invested in what they're going through. And so to have supervisors, coworkers, the environment invested in me has been really uncomfortable, but an uncomfortable challenge in a way that it helps me kind of come to a place where it's like, you do deserve to have someone invested in you, which I think allows me to even show up further for clients of, I know what that feels like. I know it can kind of feel uncomfortable because I'm going through it right now, and you still do deserve it. Opening up that honesty and kind of authenticity in the relationship, I think kind of just brings an extra level of trust in the relationship. I'm also just a little spicy, so just adding that of my sense of humor, and I really think I'm funny, so I really try to bring that in as well, and at times not take things too seriously, and having a good balance.